All right, we are back, episode 15 of Your Relationship Sucks! Exclamation point, a double exclamation point.
Oh,
Another one in.
wow.
Very excited about this one. I have no idea what's coming, but I am still excited. I think it's going to be a good one. This is going to be just another everybody just needs to sit back, get some more knowledge from me on relationships and what's going on, and then some probably reasonable points from you on those same relationships.
But not knowledgeable.
I would
Just
say that
reasonable.
they're not going to be as informative as mine, but that's the way things go. That's life. Life is unfair. But I am excited to get into whatever it is that you have in store. So what do you got for me today? What's the topic of the day?
Today, the topic is saying goodbye to someone I love. So that's just the title.
Okay. All right. Now remember, you give me the first.
Yes, I was just going to say.
We're doing it. It's a new segment, if you will. This is first reactions, right? So my first reaction here.
Yeah.
So you're gonna give me the first sentence. I'm gonna decide whose side I'm on, and then I guess we should probably at the end circle back to see if I was right. I think the first time we did this, I think
you were right.
I think I was
right. You were.
So we'll
with
see.
Very little information.
Very little. Sometimes the first sentence doesn't give you anything. See. Sometimes it tells me literally everything I need to know. But
yeah, we'll see. This one's a little vague. I was in a relationship with my boyfriend for 2 years.
I'm gonna say it's her fault. I'm not on her side. That's my initial reaction to that. Her fault, not on her side.
All right.
She doesn't seem like she's communicating very well. I'm gonna put that out up front. She's not giving me a lot of information. She's not putting all the important information in that first sentence. I'm gonna say she does that in her relationship. Not a good communicator. It's gonna be her fault, 100%. There it is. That's it.
My goodness.
That's my first impression. That's my first impression here. All right. So what do you got? What do you got for me?
Okay. It continues. I ended the relationship exactly 1 week ago. Today, when we got 1 week ago today, when we got into a bad argument, one of many. I loved my boyfriend more than I ever loved another man, and our connection, chemistry, and love was profound and mutual. I felt so lucky to be in love with a man whose love was as great or at times greater than mine.
She needs to use a different word for love. We need to get this woman some sort of syllabus. Continue.
Yeah, we're not done yet. He told me he loved me every day and always reminded me he would never be unfaithful.
Okay.
A weird thing to constantly say if you aren't going to be unfaithful. It's like you're spending a lot of time talking about being unfaithful.
Look, every single store that I walk into,
but we're not into it yet.
No, I look into every time I walk into a store, look at whoever the proprietor is, and I tell them I am not going to rob you today. That happens every time. So I understand this guy. I get it. I'm still on his side.
Okay. I'm 24 years old, and I've always been an independent soul. I have dreams to travel the world and start a career in video production and to be successful. I want to eventually settle down and have a family, but after I've seen the world and I've lived my 20s to the fullest. I've always been very ambitious and career-driven, but my biggest fault is my heart. Ben is 29. He has 2 children under 5 years old from 2 different women. He was with each woman for several years and was even engaged to both of them, but neither relationship lasted. He wants to buy a house, get married, and settle down. He wanted me to be his last girlfriend and to have children with me and to propose to me on our 2nd anniversary. When I told him I wasn't ready for marriage, he just assumed I just didn't love him as much.
Oh, he did propose. He actually did propose. That wasn't a plan. He wasn't planning on doing that. Coming up, she's saying that he did propose on the 2nd anniversary. She said no.
It sounded like he wanted to, but then they started talking about marriage, and she made it clear she wasn't ready. So then he was like, "Oh, I was going to propose." It's like that's not what she said, but like That's what I'm
I'm with you.
picking up.
I'm with you.
And her writing's a little convoluted when
Yeah, that's
you're
fine. Yeah,
lots
I
of
get
run
it.
on sentences, but I think that that's what it was. I lived around his work schedule and his kids' schedule. I would watch his kids while he had to work or if he had football practice. I spoiled them like they were my own. On the last day I saw him, I saw his 3-year-old son dragging out this huge toy out of his room through the kitchen and into the living room where he already had a mess of toys. Ben and I had been trying to teach him to clean up his toys before bringing out more toys from his room. Ben overheard me telling him to put the toy back because he had to clean up first. He responded, "Leave him alone." Something inside of me snapped. This wasn't the first time he disagreed with something I said to his child, telling him to stop or to let him be. But his tone was always defensive and disrespectful. The argument escalated, and I told him I was only trying to help and I needed him to treat me like an equal, or I just couldn't stay in the relationship. Not as a parent of the child, but as someone whose opinion was respected. He told me to leave, so that's exactly what I attempted to do. I needed him to move his car so I could leave, and when I asked him to do so, he told me I had to wait until his son's nap time. I asked him to please move his car over and over again until he threw one of his son's toys at my face. I began to pack up all my things because at that moment, I knew I was done. We argued as I packed up all of my belongings in his house. This isn't the first time this has happened. For the past week, he has been trying to reach out to me. At first telling me I deserved to have the toy thrown at me because of the way I was acting in front of his son. Now he's begging me not to end things. He keeps telling me he loves me and that he misses me and he wants to work this out. Telling me about his plan to propose to me this summer. But his main concern is finding out that I'm spending my time with another man, plotting some type of revenge. He tells me he's going to heal by surrounding himself with other women if I don't decide to work this out with him.
Wait,
During the
so is
course,
she's
I
with
don't
another
think
guy,
so.
or he thinks she's with another guy. He's worried that she's
I
with
think
another
he
guy.
thinks that, but she's wording it and like she's wording it in a way because I think she wants to sound
Yeah, she wants to sound way smarter than she
like,
is. She clearly doesn't have
yeah,
a real strong grasp on the English language. The syntax is
yeah,
not her friend. So you're saying he thinks
yeah,
the abusive guy thinks that she's with another guy, and he's now jealous of that. And he's saying,
yeah.
he wants to know, are you with another guy?
It's yeah.
Got it. Okay.
The
Okay.
directing is like his
I got it.
main
Yep. I
concern,
got
so
it.
I
I
think
got
it's
it.
like he's obsessed with that, and
Yep.
then as
Yep. I know. I got
in
it. I got
return,
it.
he's just saying, okay, okay. During the course of my relationship, a lot of my friends have moved away for jobs or to start over somewhere new. I moved back into my parents' house and I feel extremely lonely and lost. I'm focusing on advancing my career, but 1,000 resumes later, all I feel is defeat. In these times of
That's a
weakness,
lot of
I think back
resumes.
to the way he used to hold me, the times that we laughed uncontrollably, and how he told me he loved me every day. I felt like I had a purpose and now it's gone. I know I need to find my own happiness and I need to love myself before I can love someone else. I'm struggling to find clarity in this decision at this point in my life. I've heard all of the cliche sayings that keep repeating in my head. My friends tell me, you deserve better, you deserve the best, stay busy, keep your mind busy, but I'm worried that I'm pushing away a man who truly loved me. What if I never find that deep love again?
All right. Number one, he didn't love her. Just flat out didn't. He loved the idea of her. Obviously, a possessive guy. Um, if you're gonna throw stuff, uh, look, stuff happens. I get it. Like people get in relationships, they get in fights. Like fights escalate. You know what I mean? Like fights escalate beyond what you thought. Whatever. You're sorry. Yada yada. All that stuff. All the people I know who are actually like reasonable, emotionally centered people, right? Who are like people not like myself, right? Those people don't throw things. You know what I mean? Like I don't throw things at people. But like nobody would look at me and be like, hey, you know what? Like this guy, this is what I want to model my emotional behavior on, right? Like there's not a single human about. Maybe there's probably people who are doing it, and like those are not people you want to be in relationships with, right? So get away from those people. this guy's throwing stuff, like he's doing things like that's forget the context. Like the context doesn't matter, whatever. Like she's not right about the kid. Like she's just not at the end of the day. Like she's obviously not. Look, that was maybe the most rambling question that we've ever had. I was 100% right that she is not a good communicator. I think I was wrong on not being on her side, but she's a terrible communicator, right? Like this is somebody who does not possess the ability to communicate well. That was also brought up by the fact that she's saying, well, I think my opinion should be respected with kids, right? Now, again, I don't have children. I know that's a very difficult thing, whatever. If you're going to want to have a say in somebody else's child's life, you can't, that's not something you should expect, right? That's something you earn. That's not something you expect because it's not your kid. If you want to have that, then you need to have that communication. You need to have a talk with them about here's what I want to say, like whatever. It goes back to all the same stuff in how do you raise the kid? How do we talk about it? What kind of things do we think is okay for punishment? All of those things, right? So she didn't communicate any of that. She just said, well, it's my opinion, like you should respect it. He doesn't have to respect it, right? Just like real parents, like biological parents, right? Like a couple gets together, they have a kid, they don't always agree on or even respect the other person's decision or opinion on how you rear the child.
Yeah.
Right. So like that's not something she should expect. She expects too much. She's a terrible communicator. What you need to do is you need to work on communication, right? Just number one, like you need to work on communication. I have a big problem. Let's just get this out here right now. I don't know if you agree, whatever, doesn't matter. I'm 100% right about this. Not everybody deserves the best. I don't know what to tell you. Your friends are lying to you. Not everybody deserves the best. That's not how life works.
What do they deserve? Like, what is the...
She deserves better than having something thrown at her head, right? So for them to say, hey, you know what? You probably didn't deserve that. I'm with you. I agree. Like, she's an adult person. Probably shouldn't be throwing stuff at other adults, right? Like, kids throw stuff at kids. That happens, and then they figure out, like, hey, you know what? Even if you want to throw stuff, like, probably don't do it. Whatever, right? It's going to be frowned upon, whatever, scarlet letter, like all that stuff, right? That's fine. So, yeah, she deserves to not have stuff thrown at her head. I 100% agree. But, I mean, come on. Like, she deserves the best? Are you kidding me? Like, there's very few people who deserve the best, right? There's very few people who genuinely deserve the best, right? You deserve better? Fine. You deserve the best? Your friends are lying to you. Now, they're good friends. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's what friends are supposed to do, right? They just basically lie to you. They look you in the eye and they're like, hey, you know what? Like, you're not a piece of shit, And like, even if you are, that's what they say because they're trying to prop you up, right? Like, that's how it works. That's what friends are for, right? Now, some people think, like, friends should be telling you the truth and all that. And honestly, I don't think this woman is prepared to hear the truth in that you don't deserve the best, because she's right. She has work to do on herself, right? All that stuff, whatever. You got to love yourself. You got to, whatever. That's fine. Leave this guy. But it's I mean, this is Stockholm syndrome, right? Like, this is Stockholm syndrome. Like, this was obviously some sort of abusive relationship. I'm not saying physically abusive, although, whatever, like, he threw the thing. It sounded like the first time or whatever. So it didn't sound like there was a history of physical abuse. I don't necessarily know, like, how much emotional abuse or whatever, but just the way she describes things, the impression that I get from this guy, right, is that he is someone who wants to possess things, right? He wants to possess things. There are all types of people like that. There are people who like to possess things and like the idea of possessing something. And so for her to say, like, well, maybe am I getting rid of a guy who actually loves me? No, I don't think you are. I don't think this guy loved you. I just don't. Like, I do, but I don't think that's your fault. And I don't think that's his fault. I think he loves the idea of stuff, right? He doesn't love the thing. He loves the idea of the thing, right? And until you get into some sort of headspace where that's the thing, like, he said to her, what did she say? She said, like, he said that he wanted me to be the last and whatever. Well, my guess is he probably said that to the first two chicks too, right? Like, that's my guess. He probably told the first two girls, hey, you know what? I'd rather not do this again. Like, I'd love to settle down with you. It'd be better if I could just, have you, right?
Yeah.
Third time is not a charm for this guy. Whatever. What I'm saying is there's a pattern there, right? So he's done this multiple times. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, basically run away from this dude. It's fine. You got out. Like, that's great. Good for you. You did what you're supposed to do. Yeah, you're going to be sad because that happens, whether it's Stockholm syndrome or just, people miss their exes, right? Like, that just happens. Like, you miss your ex.
Yeah.
You had good times, like, whatever. You laughed a couple times. You remember that stuff. That happens. Like, yeah, you're going to be sad for a while. But that's the way it goes. You probably miss the kid too. Like, that's fine. get it out of your head that you deserve the best. You don't deserve the best. I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. Like, it sounds like you don't have a career. It sounds like I'm not even entirely sure that you have a job or whatever, but you're not going for it. Like, if you were going for it, if she was like actually risking it, she's like, hey, by the way, I just moved to like, fucking Indonesia or something. And I'm like doing this video stuff or whatever. And like, I'm doing the thing, or I moved to Hollywood and I'm trying to do whatever and like all that stuff. And she took a real risk. No problem. Right. And I understand the financial, all that stuff, whatever. I'm saying like, she hasn't even gotten to that point yet. So until you get to that point, and I'm not saying it happens overnight and whatever, I'm saying until you get to that point, you don't deserve the best. I'm sorry. You're not taking a risk. You're not doing anything that deserves the best. You deserve better than what you had. You don't deserve the best because nobody deserves the best, right? Like, I don't deserve the best. I mean, honestly, like if we look at everybody in the world, like there's not a single person who should look at me and be like, hey, you know what? You deserve the best. That's ludicrous. That's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. That is a stupid thing to say, right? That's just fundamentally a dumb thing to say to me is, hey, you know what? You deserve the best. No, there are a million people who are much better human beings than I am, right? They deserve better than me. Not even all of them deserve the best, but they definitely deserve better than me. Right? So get that shit out of your head right now. You don't deserve the best, but you definitely deserve better than what you had. So yeah, start work, create some videos, do some of that stuff. If you say you want to do it, great, do that. Don't focus on this stuff. What did she say? She's 24. You got plenty of time.
Yeah.
You can find somebody. Absolutely. You can find somebody, but start on this, make some videos. Now you have something interesting to talk about with somebody, right? Now you have something interesting to say.
Yeah.
As opposed to, hey, I'm getting over my ex or whatever. You know what? Put that shit out of your mind. Yeah, you're going to be sad. You're going to think about it. Whatever. Make some videos. Now you have something interesting to say. Now you have something interesting to talk about. You have an in with somebody who also might like videos. I don't know. That might be kind of cool. You can make some friends that way. You can do whatever, but make some videos. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a video editor or whatever the hell it is you want to do, start doing that. Put some stuff on YouTube. Get people to your channel, whatever, but do some of that, right? Spend 2-3 months just doing that. Don't worry about anything else. Just do that. Right? I mean, talk to your friends, whatever. Tell them, hey, I appreciate the support. You're being too supportive of me. Like, let's pair that back to like a reasonable, legit, logical level.
Have you ever said
support.
that to a friend?
No, most of my friends don't support me in that way, right? Like, most of my friends are like, yeah, you know what? You're kind of a piece of shit. Like, whatever. You know what I mean? It's like
no
most of my friends.
No one's ever told you deserve the best.
No, most of them are like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you kind of get what it was coming to you. It's more of those types of conversations. There's a lot of, it's not like, oh, good stuff's coming. It's like, yeah, you kind of deserve that. It's a lot of that type of stuff, which is good. Which is that's what I need, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I need. But that's the thing. Get that shit out of your head. Tell your friends, hey, you know what? Like, let's be logical levels of friends here. I need some realism in my life because obviously I made some bad decisions. And if you're going to get with, if the next guy you're with has kids or whatever, have the conversation. Have the conversation with them and have the real conversation about this is how I think you should raise kids. This is what I believe in raising children. Have that conversation. Otherwise, you're never going to be respected. Unless you go at it from that standpoint and say, hey, whatever, because your opinion it doesn't deserve to be respected unless you come at it from a way to say, here's why you should respect my opinion. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, that's how I feel about it. At the end of the day, you're a bad communicator. You know what? Work on the video. Work on your communication skills. 100%. Like, let's learn how to write a fucking sentence that makes sense. Let's learn how to put the important information at the beginning here. So like, let's do that. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I got fired up about that one. What do you think? Where are you at?
I have a couple things. So she did, like you said, she spent an entire paragraph before getting into the meat of things talking about how much he loved her and how deeply he loved her.
Yeah, he did.
And that to me is just like a big, I don't want to say like a red flag necessarily, but it's
called protesting too much.
Yes. And I think that goes back to a lot of people who are, as you said, controlling in some way. They like to own things. That is literally textbook 101 for the first step of being in an abusive relationship. People who are abusive are extremely charismatic people most of the time. Like, abusive people, a lot of times people outside don't believe that the abuser, whether male or female, is even an abusive person because they're so charismatic. And like I said, even before getting, into the rest of it, and I had read it once and I didn't really remember this sentence, but if someone is constantly telling you that they're not going to cheat on you, and maybe that was like an insecurity in her past, so that's why he was constantly telling her, like reassuring her. It
Yeah.
didn't seem like it. It didn't seem related to like her saying, "Oh, my past relationships were this way, said he was this way." It was unsolicited commenting on not cheating on her, which I personally feel if you're in a relationship, that's like a given. If you've decided to be in a monogamous relationship, your other person in your
Mhm.
monogamous relationship doesn't have to constantly tell you, I'm not gonna like cheat on you. That's the entire idea behind being in a monogamous relationship. So like why don't yeah, that was weird. Um as far as the situation with the kid, I guess I do understand where she's coming from. I don't think anything you said was wrong in the fact that they need to be more clear. Like if he's gonna essentially dump his kid on her while he's working or going to football practice, or he's going to use her as a co-parent when that child is at the house, then yeah, she needs to respect what she had, like what she's going to contribute to that. Yeah, if she didn't have that conversation or make that
But
clear,
that's
then like
separate
that's
time.
on
That's
her.
separate time, right? That's separate time. That's when that's when it didn't sound. She was basically saying, while he was there, right? And I think what you're saying is while the kid is in her sole custody, then it's up to
Well,
her,
no, I'm
right?
saying
What I'm saying
if you
is,
have to spend that much time around a kid, then and you've already had a conversation where that parent who you're
mhm,
dating has said that kid, we're trying to teach him to put away toys,
mhm.
and then she does something where they've had a conversation about enforcing this rule with the kid that she also has to separately spend time with, then it's not unreasonable to then follow through with the thing you already talked about as two parents. Like she's not adding something new to the equation.
I
She
see your
was
point. I see your point.
following
I see your
through with
point.
something they had previously talked about, and he's like, no, it doesn't matter right now. And I think that is like one of the worst things you can do for a 3-year-old is to be inconsistent with what you're telling him. I'm not saying like punish
No, I
the
get it. I get
3-year-old,
it.
but like
I get it.
she's being
I
consistent
guess
as
what I'm
like
saying
a
is,
partner, and he's picking and choosing, and then he's saying, oh, it's my kid, I can change my mind whenever you want to. Then you're saying, and I think what she was saying then is, then you need to like respect me like as a person, because right now you're not even respecting me as a person. And she probably has fears about what it will be like if it's their kid together, which I think is an entirely separate thing. Like that's not
yeah,
her kid.
100%, 100%.
So
I
that could
guess
be completely different.
like what I'm saying is, yes, I agree with what you're saying. I think you're right. The but I don't think I think the dad is doing a disservice to the kid. Yes, I don't think that means that the woman, the girlfriend, deserves to have her voice heard with the dad. It's his choice if he wants to be inconsistent, unless they've had an actual conversation about that while they're together, right? Now, again, while the kid is with her, like they do their thing, that's a totally different thing. I'm saying in front of the dad, right? Because you're also undermining his authority too, right? At the same time, you're still undermining his authority. Again, whether his authority like makes sense or not, that doesn't matter. But you are
Yeah.
undermining his authority, right? So what I'm saying is, you have to have that conversation. You don't deserve to have that just because something happened, because you're allowing that to happen to you, right? You're accepting that. You're accepting that part of it. So if you want a voice in that, you have to ask for it, right? Again, this goes back to
Yeah.
the
I
same thing every
guess
time.
where that's not the situation that occurred here. What you're saying is another hypothetical.
No,
And
no,
what
no,
I'm,
no, 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 no.
no,
What I'm saying, I understand what happened. I get it. I understand. They had a conversation. I'm with you. What I'm saying is, it's his choice. It's the dad's choice if he wants to be inconsistent in that
so he can
discipline.
undermine her, then
Absolutely, it's
that's
his kid.
fine.
It's his kid. I'm not saying he's right. I'm saying it's his kid. If she wants to be respected, you better have that conversation. That's what I'm saying, right? It's his kid.
Well, then
At the end of the day,
then I
it's his
guess
kid.
like if I was, then I wouldn't like watch his kid, because his kid's gonna treat me like shit.
Right.
'Cause he
I'm not
treats me like
saying
shit.
that's what I'm trying
I
to
know.
tell her. Get away. But what I'm saying is, it's his kid, right? He gets to decide how inconsistent he wants to be. Yeah, if he wants to undermine her, what are you going to do? Unless you say something, because he has not granted her the authority in his mind, right? So if you want that authority, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you have or whatever, the kid is his, right? The kid is his. So ultimately, his word is the one that's going to go. right? Just that's reality. That's the reality of the situation. Is his
Yeah.
word is the one that's going to go. And so if he wants to be inconsistent with his word, that's his choice, unless you have that conversation, right? And so if she's saying, well, hey, we had this conversation, you know, and I think you're being inconsistent, and the guy's like, well, it doesn't really matter right now, then guess what? It doesn't. It just doesn't really matter. Now, that's a difference of opinion, and that's something you could talk about, but that's a conversation you need to have, right? You need to have that conversation, set those expectations, say, look, if we have a conversation about something that's going to happen, then I expect, and I will do my part to enforce this, and I expect that you're going to do the same thing. Do you agree with that? And if he says no, then that's one thing. If he says yes, and then this happens, now you say, hey, look, we had this conversation. You said this. You're undermining me. We had a conversation about what was supposed to happen. You told me this was the case. So now you're disrespecting me and you're undermining me in front of your kid, right? But she never had that, or at least, again, maybe they did, but it did not sound like that was the conversation they had, right? Again, because because it's a second step. That's my point. If you go to somebody with a kid, the onus is on you. If you want to be part of the kid's life, the onus is on you to then make yourself known that you want to be part of this life, right? And you want to do that. And so there's a secondary step that you have to take, because at the end of the day, it's not your kid. And so it's even more important. And that's a hard thing to understand at 24. At 24, it's a very difficult thing to understand.
Yeah, I guess too, the you know, like the thing is, if they're getting married, and he acts like this, and it sounds like he has
100%.
2 kids that he's just gonna wield control over and control her life with. Because if that's the outlook that he's not naturally gravitating to, and she needs to make, you know, you're right, have that explicit conversation. But it doesn't sound like even if they had that conversation, he would necessarily change his mind.
Which is
If
why
you're getting,
I'm applauding,
at that point, if you're being a step parent, then that changes in some, I mean, it's still not your kid, but there should be some like respect of not being undermined when someone is living in your house in a way. And it doesn't sound like,
right, but that's a choice. That's a choice that you make to become a step parent. You make that choice. And in order to make that choice with full knowledge, you better have that conversation, because if you don't have that conversation, then you've implicitly made the choice that you're allowing him to undermine you. It's still your fault. It's not your kid. You have to insert yourself into the situation. I'm not saying you have to overparent. I'm saying you have to make it known that you want your voice heard. And then, like any good couple who is raising, or any family that's raising a child, everybody has to talk together and understand, how are we going to raise this child, right? It comes back to communication. Communication is very difficult. It's hard to do at 24. I agree with you. If you're a step parent, there's sort of an acknowledgement almost that you should be more respected, but it's still not your kid, and you've made the choice. And if you haven't had that conversation before you get married to someone who has a child, then it's still, you still implicitly accepted the fact that you didn't really have a say, because you didn't make your voice known, right? You have to make your voice known. You have to make your vote known. You have to let them know, this is what I need. And if they say no, then you have to walk away, or you have to accept that. And so that's a hard thing to do. I'm glad she got away. I agree with you. I don't like this guy's parenting style. What I'm saying is, I'm glad she got away, because I agree. It didn't sound like he was going to accept a different parenting style. And I don't think that's something that she should put up. So I agree. It's good that she got away. I'm saying, if this happens in the future, she needs to make sure she has that conversation, because at the end of the day, it's not her kid.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. When it's not your kid, at the end of the day, you have to accept either, I agree with this person's philosophy because they align with mine and we've had that conversation, or I'm just going to go along with it even if I feel like shit about it. And that's the reality of the situation. I mean, you know, honestly, like that's part of the reason, like, nobody with a kid would ever want to marry me, right? Because, like, I have whatever my thoughts are on, like, how you raise a kid, you know, and they look at me and they'd be like, you're a lunatic, you know, like, no, like, that doesn't make any sense, right? And so, like, that's the, you know, that's the thing, like, for me, they would just be like, pass, like, no thanks. You know, like, maybe you're like a better friend. You know what I mean? Like that, which is fine. But they would know that, right? Because you have to have that communication. You have to know, like, this is what's happening. This is what's going on. This is how I feel. I want to be respected. And if the other person doesn't accept that, and they say, I don't really care how you want to feel or what kind of voice you think you want to have, then it's up to you to say, either I don't accept that, I'm going to leave because I don't agree with you not respecting me, or you have to say, okay, fine, I tried, whatever, and then you just have to go along with whatever they say, because at the end of the day, it's not your kid. And that's the hard part, right? But, again, this woman, open your fucking eyes, right? Like, he said the same thing to the first 2 women. There's no way he went to those first 2 women and he's like, you know what? I want to do this 2 more times. 3 more times, whatever. There's no way
Yeah.
that happened. He said the same thing. I'm glad you got out. Just count yourself lucky that you got out. And like I said, work on your communication skills, work on writing the English language, apparently, but work on your communication skills and work on some editing stuff and do that for 3 months and don't even focus on a relationship. You know, I mean, talk to your friends and stuff, but don't even focus on a relationship. Don't find another guy, whatever. Just work on those things and then open your eyes and then go out and see what happens. Because I guarantee you make a few videos, you write a couple of sentences that actually make sense, and all of a sudden you're going to have a different outlook on life. I guarantee it.
Yeah. I'd also like to point out that no one that loves someone is telling them repeatedly they're going to go find other women immediately, like 1 week after, to like,
oh yeah,
deal
that was
with the
wild.
pain.
That was
That's
wild.
like,
Absolutely.
that's not like, and I mean, even at the end, she's like, maybe I gave up on something
100%.
that was great.
No,
That's
he didn't love you. He did not love you.
He didn't love you.
He did not love you. He loved the idea of you. He loved the idea of somebody subservient. And I don't even mean that necessarily in a macho way, right? Like that's his thing.
No,
he just
like
likes somebody who listens to him. That's what he wants. He wants someone who basically listens to him and dotes on him and does all those things. Absolutely 100% agree with you. That's a great point. Proof enough that he didn't love you. A lot of other reasons and a lot of other proof, but that one by itself, 100%. 100%.
Yeah. And I think that her final question, which you did answer, but was, what if I never find deep love again? I don't think we touched on that.
I don't know, but you didn't find it the first time. So again is the wrong. Yes. Again, work on your communication skills. Again is the wrong word choice. You need to understand that words are important. If words are important, then they all have meaning, which means you have to understand that the word again implies that you had it the first time, which you obviously didn't. You didn't.
Yeah.
He didn't love you. Listen, he did not love you. The sad fact of the matter is you spent 2 years of your life wasting it on someone who did not love you. I don't know what to tell you. It happens. At least you learned it at 24 and not at 42.
Yeah. Honestly, the advice I would have is this was not a deep love. This was a deep control someone had over you. And you will hopefully never find that again. And I think that you will find something that is like only a little bit better, and it will feel enormously better. Because at the end of hopefully it's not remotely similar, but like this person that you are with did not value you as a partner or as any form of a half of a whole, whatever people want to say. And I think the moment you find that, you'll realize that you couldn't even not have like a really deep love again. And I think it'll feel better than what this was.
I agree. Like me personally, I'm someone who thinks that she could do more than just a little better, but that's me. I like to shoot for the stars. I understand you want to put a cap on her hopes. I get it. Like, don't shoot for the stars.
We were working within the
I'm with you. It's fine. I think that you can go. I think you can find true love. Unlike
so the best. You think she can find the best?
No, I think she can find true love. I didn't say she can find the best. It's just she can find true love. So this girl does not deserve the best. You don't deserve the best. You don't know how to use the word again. You don't know how to communicate. You do not deserve the best. At the end of the day, you don't deserve the best. Put that on a t-shirt, sell that everywhere, wear it around, remind yourself you do not deserve the best. 100%, absolutely not. Unequivocally, you do not deserve the best. But I think you can find true love. I think you can find more than just a little bit better. But that's me. You know what? I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist. I like to think optimistically about these people. I think, we're solving their problems. We're curing their ills. We're doing God's work. That's really what's happening. We're doing God's work. So I think we did. I think we did it this time. I think
3 months.
Again,
don't focus on romantic relationships. Focus on yourself.
Again, step by step.
Want to add, if you are moving back in with your parents, it's been a week and you're maybe not at the career that you want, that is not the time to backpedal into a bad relationship. Give it longer than a week. A week is not enough time to get over someone while you're in an unideal situation. I'm glad she had her parents' house to go to, but no one feels their best moving back into their parents' house, and that needs to be taken into consideration when you're thinking about how you're feeling about shit. That's not the time to be this was better because it wasn't my parents' basement. No, your parents' basement is better than being with someone who treats you like shit. That's just a fact.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with you. All right, so we've done it. Anybody who has thoughts on that, or they got other questions that they want to have answered, from us, things that are going on in their lives and their relationships. Love to get in there, basically solve your problems for you, because a lot of you people don't really seem to be able to open up your eyes, see the big picture. That's what we're here for, give you step by step, just legitimate solutions to your problems. You can email us. What's the email? The email again?
info.yourrelationshipsucks@gmail.com.
All right.
One day you'll get it.
I doubt it. You can send an email. Somebody might read it. You comment, whatever, like that's fine too. Anyways, appreciate everybody listening, and we will see everybody next time.